Lesson 1.5 is going to be about estimation strategies. Students are going to estimate a solution to a multi-step number story. You're also going to consider reasons for estimating. Students need to consider rounding, front-end estimation, and close-to estimation. And before we're done, you're going to estimate solutions to multi-step addition and subtraction number stories. But first, let's do our mental math and fluency. Look at the number that's before you. How do you say that number? If you need to, use your hand to cover up the last three numbers, the 5, the 1, and the 0. You should see that 12, the 2 of the 12, ends in the thousands place. So we would say that number, 12,510. What's the value of the 1? Hopefully you looked at the 10,000s place and realized that 1 times 10,000 is 10,000. So its value is 10,000. What's the value of the 5? 5 is in the hundreds place. So 5 times 100 is 500. So the 5's value is 500. Let's look at our next number. Remember, our comma goes in every 3. 1, 2, 3. So here should be where our comma is placed. Again, if you need to use your hand, cover up those last three numbers. And how do we say that number? 93,246. Make sure you're doing this with me so that you catch on to reading large numbers. What's the value of the 6 in that number? 6 is in the ones place, so 6 times 1 is 6. So the value of 6 is 6. What's the value of the 3 in that number? 3 is in the thousands place, so 3 times 1,000 is 3,000. And let's take a look at our final number. Sorry about that. Where would my comma be in that number? That's right, every 3 places. So it would go here. If you need to, cover up those 3 numbers and say this number, 23, and look at, I'm going straight up, 1,082. What's the value of the 0 in that number? Very good. Every 0 in every number's value is worth 0. What's the value of the 8 in that number? 8 is in the tens column, so that would be worth 80, because 8 times 10 is 80. If ever they're asking you value questions, you should go into your math file and pull out the place value chart that I had given you and write the numbers in to make sure that you're getting the right value for each one of those numbers. Use that tool. It's there for you. Next, I want you to get out loose leaf Math Masters page 19. I want you to look at this page on your own and pause this tape if you need to get it out. It reads, the teachers at Forest View School held a reading contest. All students would receive a free book if they read a combined total of 20,000 books by the end of the year. Have the students read enough books? I want you to go ahead and figure out an answer to this problem by either rounding, estimating, or simply adding the numbers together. Stop the tape now while you do that. Okay, let's look at a couple different strategies you could have used. You could have simply said 6,000 plus 5,000 plus 4,000 plus 4,000 is about 19,000. But looking at these other numbers, 500, 800 is 1,300, and another 1,100, well, yes, the students have read enough books. Because according to that estimation that I just did, they actually had about 21,000 books. Another method you could have used is you could have looked at your numbers and decided, well, do I round these numbers up or down? So let's try that method. Remember, the number to the right rounds the number to its left, up or down. 5 and up, we round up one place value. So we round the 6 up to a 7. So that would be 7,000. Look at the next one. The 8 tells me what to do to the 5. 8 is 5 or higher, so the 8 makes the 5 a 6. So I could add it this way, 7,000 plus 6,000. My next one, the 4, tells me what to do to the 4. Well, here it's 4 and down, rounds down, so that's just simply going to be 4,000. And my final one, the 7 next to the 4, well, 7 is higher, 5 or higher, so that rounds that up to 5,000. Seven plus 6 is 13, plus 4 is, you should be doing this with me, 17, plus 5 is 22,000 again. This is simply rounding. And one other one we could do is we could, and let me do this, round to the hundreds place. Now, if we're rounding to the hundreds place, we need to underline the hundreds place so we know that's what we're rounding to. So we make sure that the number we're looking at alongside of it, to its right, tells me what to do with that. So the 2 is 4 and down, so I can just go to 6,500. The 7 tells me to round that 8 up, so that's 5,900. The 6 tells me to round the 4 up, so that's 4,500. And my last number, the 8 tells me to round the 7 up to an 8, so that's 4,800. Well, I know my numbers in every number I've just written are zeros. Now, 8 plus 5 is 13, plus 9 is 22, plus 5 is 27, so I put the 7 down and I carry a 2. 4, 5, 6, 10, 15, 21. No matter how I how I rounded to estimate, I come up with more than 21,000. So describe which method you used below. Did you round to the thousands place? Did you round to the hundreds place? Or did you simply just put the numbers in a row and add them all together? Sometimes an estimate is more useful than an exact answer. Go back and finish page 19 by trying yet another strategy. You may use one of the ones I showed you here. Pause it while you finish Math Masters page 19. Turn it back into me and then turn the rest of your tape back on to hear the rest of my explanation. All right, there are many different ways to estimate. What they all have in common is substituting precise values with numbers that are easier to work with. Each method is useful. The method you choose should be based on the context of the problem you're trying to solve. So listen to the following number story. On Sunday, 463 people were at the lake. On Monday, 226 people were at the lake. And 312 were there on Tuesday. How many people in all were at the lake? One way is to estimate, which is simply rounding all numbers to a particular place value. So again, let's take a look at those numbers. 463. What would 463 round to? Hopefully, you're looking at the hundredths place value. So if this was a number line, and if you need to draw number lines, please use a ruler, a straight edge, not like what I'm doing here. The first number with 2 zeros behind it, because there's 2 numbers after it, is my first choice. My first option would be to round it to 400. My second choice, because I'm in the hundreds place, means I'd increase this by 100 to 500. And halfway between, if I was counting 401, 402, 403, etc., all the way up to 500, would be right in the middle, 450. So if my number is 463, we would know that would land about here on the number line. So we would round up to 500. So my rounding number would be 500. What about 226? Pause the tape to figure it out if you need to. I want you to draw the number line on a piece of scratch paper and see if you can come up with the answer. Remember, pause it now. Again, I hope you looked at the 200s place. So instead of this number being 400, it would have been 200. And again, we're still counting up by 100. So my maximum number would be 300. And my number in the middle between 200 and 300 would be 250. Where would 226 come on that line? Well, it'd come before 250. So I would round that to 200. Let's try 312. Pause the tape again and figure out the answer. Again, I hope you drew a number line. Your first choice would be 300. You go up 100, your second choice would be 400, and 312 would run down to 300. Another way to estimate is called front-end estimation, in which the digit in the highest place value remains the same, while all the other digits in the smaller place values change to 0. For instance, in that front-end estimation of the number 463, all we would do is change that first digit, which is in the highest place value, to 400. This is probably a simpler method. The 226, without thinking, we just automatically round that one to 200 because the 2 is in the hundreds place, and that's our highest place value digit. If we were looking at a thousands digit, even though 9s are bigger than 1, this is 1,000. So we would automatically just change that to 1,000. That's called, again, front-end estimation. And another way is to use close but easier numbers. That's called a close to